Hey, this is Robin from the Ocean, and you're watching Brutalitopia.
Hey everybody, this is Mick from Brutalitopia again. We are here in Chicago. Forgive us if we're a little exhausted, but we are at the end of the night here. After the concert, I am here, of course, with Robin Staps from the Ocean. Robin, how's everything been going? How's life?
Pretty good, yeah. Had a fun show tonight, and everything's been pretty chilled so far on this tour. Devin is awesome. His crew is really cool. So we've been having good times, yeah.
How have the crowds been for you guys? Because I know it's hard for maybe for more of the American crowds because you guys are a little less known around here, but how overall do you think people have been receiving your music so far?
Oh, it's been great. I think we go down really well every night, selling lots of merch. It's different crowds than on our last tour over here when we went out with BT Bam in April, May. It was more like the kind of, I don't know, like younger kids and people who like to dance at shows. Here it's more like a reserved crowd, you know, people are really checking it out and watching the show, which is also cool. And I think we're reaching a lot of new people through this. I mean, we've never been out with Devin before, and he draws all different kinds of people that basically share a love for heavy music, and there's lots of common ground, I think, between what he's doing and what we're doing, so that's really cool.
This is always an interesting question, I find, for bands like yourselves that travel all around the world and everything. How do the crowds here compare to with like crowds you play to in Europe? And I know you guys were just recently in China too, so like what's kind of the different trends you kind of realize all over the world as you play shows for people?
It's different worlds. I mean, it's like between Europe and the US, I don't see so large differences. It kind of depends. Like if you're playing in the major cities in Europe, like Paris, Berlin, or like any major German or like UK city, you will find that a lot of times people who come out to shows are a bit bored and like just they get overloaded with so many shows and they have such a vast choice of entertainment on offer that they're not as hungry as in the more peripheral regions. Like when you get to Portugal or Spain or especially Eastern Europe, they don't get so many tourists that come through there because it's so far off the beaten track, basically. So people who come out to shows there are a lot more passionate and a lot more hungry, and you see people like going crazy the way that it would never happen in Germany, or like in Chicago or in the major American cities. It's the same, and that is even more extreme in China. I mean, we had an amazing tour there, and that's a country where the whole scene is really young and still like in the process of shaping up. And they're like really keen on seeing European and American bands, and we've had huge shows there, really cool audience responses, somewhat very different. They have these awkward dancing styles sometimes where they all like queue up behind one another and then bang their heads in unison, and it's hilarious. It's really funny, but yeah, it was awesome. It was great to play there, and yeah, crowds were very enthusiastic over there.
Well, I know you guys more recently, when you've been playing, have been repping more of the music from your most recent albums, the double albums, Heliocentric and Anthropocentric. Kind of the interesting thing about those albums is that they are concept albums, but kind of the subject matter is a little more different than you'd normally think of when presented with a concept record. It's usually like space or like kind of weird fantasy stuff, but you guys kind of take a look at like Christianity and kind of more of like, not like typical metal, like say, oh, it just sucks, but like it's more of like a philosophical kind of critique of it almost. Like what was kind of the thinking behind that when you were like in the process of making those records? Like what was different?
Been wanting to address that for a while. I'm a huge fan of concept albums, and I just like the idea of giving people a little more than just music, at least to those people who actually care and read the lyrics. It's great when they have something to discover. And I've always been a fan of that in general, and the whole matter of Christianity is something that has been on my mind for a long time. I was initially exposed to it the first time when I was living with a Baptist host family in the US at age 16, and I had a creationist host sister, so to speak, that I had daily discussions with about, you know, like the dinosaurs never having existed and stuff like that, which struck me as really bizarre at that time until I realized that there's a whole bunch of people out there that actually really believe that. And since then I studied philosophy and have read a lot of religious philosophers, and it's not something that, you know, I've found in the library. It's something I've really been interested in for many years. And so naturally, when it comes to your own art, you process the things that you care about, that you're interested in. And yeah, I've been wanting to tackle that subject for a while, and now with these 2 albums that we had written in 2009, that was the right time to do it. And yeah, I think it worked out pretty well.
Do you think, for you personally, it's more meaningful to you to write about, you know, things like that are more like real and meaningful probably to people, as opposed to like, you know, just weird, like, you know, for instance, like Devin Townsend, like with Ziltoid, how it's just kind of so out there and goofy. Like, do you find just more comfort, I guess, in writing about things that are more like worldly and that people can relate to more? Or?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I guess it's a matter of taste. I mean, I love what Devin's doing, but I wouldn't want to do that myself. I couldn't. I mean, I'm just not that kind of guy, you know. Like he's just a legend on stage, and he's an amazing entertainer, and just like a character that really, you know, gets that across in a way that's hilarious and funny and cool. I'm not so much interested in this humorous side of metal myself, really, although, like I said, I really appreciate what he's doing. But yeah, I don't know, I guess we're more of a serious band that never laughs, you know, so. No, I mean, we're doing our thing, and it just happens that we're interested in these, like, larger themes somehow, and when I write lyrics, I need to keep myself occupied and busy, and yeah, keep myself occupied with things that actually like move me, or that make me think, or that I find interesting myself, you know. Otherwise it would just be like lyrics that would be sterile and dead somehow. So you always deal with the things that speak to you most, that you find most important, obviously.
Kind of more about the band, more specifically, people who may not, in America at least, be so familiar with you guys. Kind of maybe a little, I know it's kind of an extensive history with the Ocean Collective, but kind of maybe in a condensed version, like kind of how your band has evolved over the years and kind of where you guys are now as to where you started. Because I know it's kind of an interesting story with like everybody interchanging in the band and everything.
Yeah, we're in a quite different place now than when we started out 10 years ago, I think. We started out as a more loosely organized collective with like changing members all the time. There has been a total of like around 40 people in and out of this band in the first like 3-4 years of its existence. And right now it's very different. It has really shaped up towards like a real band with like a core lineup. We've had a fixed lineup now for 3 years, and hopefully it's going to stay. You never know with this whole rock and roll thing. It's something that people usually are in for it for a while, and then they start having families and getting career jobs, you know, so you never know. But right now I feel like I'm really playing with the people that I've looked for a long time, and it's awesome. Like everyone's really into it. We all want to do the same thing. We all love touring, being on the road, and it's great. So, but this whole collective thing, it's still somewhat there, because on the albums we have lots of players that are not with us in the live environment, lots of classical instrumentalists, and we also have the guys designing our visuals and all that, and they all kind of like belong to the band, but they're not in the live lineup. So they come into play when we record an album, and we need to record the pre-productions that we've programmed in a way that actually sounds good. So we call our classical players into the studio, and they work with us and play with us. And sometimes we do that on special occasions as well, like, you know, like one-off festival shows where the budgets are larger, so that we can actually fly in a bunch more people. We just recently played a show at the Museum for Musical Instruments in Berlin, really weird, like with a seated audience, you know. It was the first rock show that ever happened in that place. It was bizarre, but it was cool. And we played with a piano player that was playing on an old 16th century cembalo, like a historic instrument, and that was awesome. So we like to do that kind of stuff when we have a chance to, but obviously on a tour like this, you know, we're a support. We can just bring the core lineup over and can bring all these extra people with us, unfortunately.
Well, just before we let you go here, I know you guys obviously are on this tour now. Is there anything immediately lined up for you guys afterwards? Are you like working on new material, or is there another tour coming up, or what do you think?
Well, we don't really know yet. We're really living from one day to the next right now, because we were initially supposed to do another tour, and we were confirmed and booked our flights to the US to do that tour, and then the management decided all of a sudden that the tour would be pushed into December. And so we were left high and dry, basically, had our flights booked and didn't have a tour. Luckily, the option with Devon came up, and we're really thankful to be able to do that. But that tour is only half as long. So our flights back home are not until November 22nd, and the Devon tour concludes in Vancouver on October 29th. So we have like 3 weeks off, where we're still going to be in the US in the beginning of November. And we don't know what we're going to do yet. We're either going to change our flights and go back home early. We may do a couple of headline shows on the way back east. When we come from Vancouver, we're flying out of Boston, so it's a long drive. We don't really know what's going to happen yet. But after that, we're going back to Europe, then headlining the UK with a band called Textures, really awesome band. And after that, we're doing a set of headlining shows in France and Switzerland until like December 12th, and then that's pretty much it. That's the end of the touring year. And next year, we're not going to do so much. We're going to be doing Australia and Asia and probably Russia, all like markets we haven't played so far. We're going to finish up our DVD, which we've collected material for the last year and a half, basically. It's turned into this epic project, and now we need to, like compile it all and edit it and cut it, and it's shitloads of work. And then we also have a new album coming up. It's all written, and we're going to start recording in February, but I'm not sure yet when it's going to be out. It's going to be either fall 2012 or like sometime in spring 2013.
Okay, well, before we let you go here, final question, just kind of on a lighter note, and perhaps give us a insight to some of the Ocean's influences. If you had, the Ocean was able to play with 2 other bands of their choosing, what would they be?
Two. And they have to be still existing.
Yes, that you could currently play with today.
That makes it difficult. Well, not so much. Tool and New Roses, let's call it.
Let's do it. Very nice. Good choices. Well, everybody, this has been another exclusive Brutalitopia interview. I am, of course, here with Robin Staps from The Ocean. Check them out on tour now with Devon Townsend. Pick up their albums, Heliocentric, Anthropocentric, if you haven't heard them yet. And be on the lookout for new material sometime next year, I guess. Robin, thanks a bunch.
Do it.
Pleasure.
Thanks, man. Cheers.